Hey everyone, I'm Will Herndon, comedy writer and air guitar champion. If there's one thing I've learned while working in TV comedy, it's that writers can't say no to a free lunch. In this show, I'll be talking to today's top comedy writers about how they got their start while we eat at some of LA's hottest lunch spots. This is Let's Do Lunch. Right now, I'm standing outside Tomato Pie Pizza Joint in Silverlake. It's one of the best places to get a New York style slice in all of Los Angeles. And my guest today is Danny Rickard. He's a co-head writer and producer at Jimmy Kimmel Live. He's also my former improv teammate and gives really good hugs. Oh, here he is now.
Hey,
Danny, how's it going?
Good to see you. How you been?
I'm really good now. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Good. You ready to have some pizza?
Let's do it.
Cool. Hop on. Yeah. Here we go. You're welcome. All right. So this is the spot. Got a wide selection of pies.
All right. I think I'm gonna slice a Joe P. Is that right?
That's a good recommend? Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll get a grandma and a Syracuse, please. That's my go-to. Nice. So I just want to talk to you just about like how you got your start and what your journey has been like to be a comedy writer. And here comes.
All right, thanks.
That Joe P for you.
All right.
The grandma and the Syracuse.
Awesome, perfect.
Thanks. Grab this number. Just a room.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Guess we'll dive in. Key. I don't know if you know the key to New York style
No.
slice. You gotta hold it and you gotta fold it. And that's
Kenny Rogers.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right.
That was great.
You can have a lot of really unattractive eating shots in this show.
I'm really excited about that. That's the part we're gonna leave in the most.
So I started in comedy. I know very similar to you, which is I did improv in high school through this company called Comedy Sports that has their own improv theaters, but also has a high school program in Southern California, and they have them in all these schools. And so I'd always kind of been interested in comedy, but I'd never done it myself. And then I found out there was a Comedy Sports team at my high school, and so I auditioned for that. And I remember very vividly being at that audition and thinking like, I've never been real good at anything before. I didn't play an instrument or a sport or anything that I really felt like I had any sort of skill at.
You were not athletically inclined.
No, which may shock you.
Very shocking.
I remember like all through junior high, I was just like, oh, I'm the worst. Just like everyone in junior high like hates themselves, except for like a handful.
Thing of like comedians is like we're just not good at sports. That's why we go into comedy.
Yeah.
We just like get like chided.
Yes. Yeah.
By the jocks. We're like, all right, well, I guess we can't do that.
Yeah, I guess I'll try this. But I remember being at that audition and going like, oh, okay, like it kind of like a glove that fit right. It was kind of the first time I felt like that. So I did that all through high school and took a bunch of classes and did a bunch of shows and a lot of bad shows. But I think those are. I think you learn a lot more from failing in front of an audience than you do being great in front of an audience.
Oh yeah.
And, so I did that all through high school and in college, which is where we met. Joined the college team at Comedy Sports Los Angeles, and really up to that point, I had always thought, oh, like this will be my hobby, and I went to school to be a teacher, and my plan was I got a psychology degree in college, and my plan was, I'll be like the funny teacher at my school, and all the kids will think I'm so awesome.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
the plan was to be a teacher.
Yeah, and I know, and really all through college that was the plan too. And but when I was in college, I found this TV show similar to how I found Comedy Sports in high school. There was a TV show, a sketch comedy show that aired on Channel 29 at UCLA in the dorms, and there were only 2 shows on this channel. It was this comedy show, sketch comedy show, and a news show called Bruin News that was really they'd record it at the end of the week, so all the news was like a week old by the time it was rerunning, so
Right.
And then so really almost 24 hours a day they're playing this show called The Mike and Ben Show.
Okay, yeah.
And I saw that and I go, oh, that seems kind of neat, and totally like an uncensored show, completely amateur, but the school gave or like rent nice cameras out to these insane the 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids,
Yeah.
and let them shoot a show and put on a half-hour show every week.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it was great. And then so my roommate and I saw that they were hiring writers, and I'd never written anything before, but I go, well, I do improv, and I sort of know more or less how to structure a scene, and I like comedy, so I'll do, I'll interview for that. So both of us became writers on that show, and I did that the whole time I was at school, and those are the people I consider my college friends, like the people kind of how you hear people talk about like the Harvard Lampoon, and it was this kind of institution that existed there before me, and I kind of got to become a part of it. So I really learned, that was the first time I'd ever written, and I think similar to doing improv in high school, I wrote tons and tons of like terrible things, like not remotely funny.
Yeah.
But
I think I remember one sketch where it's like you guys are getting busted for weed, and you guys just kept like holding up the bag of weed, like being all paranoid.
and that was like the premise of a sketch we spent all night shooting in the valley. It was like, oh, it's kind of funny we do this thing like. We thought that was like none of us smoked weed. We didn't even really know, or like I think this is what stoners do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, and really similar. It's something that at that time I never would have told you like this is experience that will help me in my career. But it was because we had like some actors, and we all kind of acted and wrote and directed and produced, kind of all together as a team, and we kind of get these things guerrilla style, and
Yeah.
but I learned a lot doing that. And then I was kind of like the producer of the show eventually. So I represented whenever the show would get in trouble, which was often. I'd have to go in and like plead our case to the board at the school and try to get them not to cancel us, and this whole thing. So that actually ended up being a really good experience for
your current job.
For being a producer and a head writer on a show. So really, writing all through college, when I was about to graduate, I had this moment where I go, I think I want to be a comedy writer, but that's insane. Nobody does that, and that's impossible to get a job doing that. And I talked to my old drama teacher. I told her that very thing, and she goes, just try it out. Like give it a go. You can always come back and teach if you really want to do that. But she goes, you always ask yourself, what if I had done that? And so she told me to go for it, and I go, yeah, you're right, So I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna try to make it happen. And so I got an internship in my last quarter at school at Jimmy Kimmel Live. Our common friend Scott Chernoff worked there, and I told him, I go, if there's ever an opening there for interns, I really want to apply. And so he let me know. He goes, hey, I heard they're hiring interns. There's someone named Gina at ABC you're supposed to get in contact with, and that's kind of all I know. And I set off on this like a madman trying to find this Gina woman, so I could apply for an internship at Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I should look it up. I have the email somewhere but I was just trying to guess her email address based on her name. Like I had her first and last name, and I knew she worked like for Disney, so it was like Gina.whatever@disney.abc.go. Like I'd come back like no, and I tried.
Wow, so it was just cold.
Like 100, and they were all wrong. And then eventually one got there, and she wrote back and was like, "Sure, you come in and like interview." And I was like, "Okay." So I was like, it was like a Russian hacker. I found her. So I went to the ABC building, interviewed, got an internship there, and so I did that for my last semester of school. And then right when I graduated, they had a job open there for what they call a TV watcher job, clip researcher. A lot of shows have them now. I think they were kind of the first to do it. But but they so then my first job out of college was I would sit in a room all day with 3 other people and watch Dr. Phil and The Bachelor and headline CNN News and all that stuff, and just look for funny clips that they might want to use on the show.
Yeah.
Which
so you got that like from interning right into TV watching.
Yeah, and I kind of gotten to know everybody there, and I think I was a decent intern, so I think they kind of go, hey, if anything opens up, let's kind of, let's help that kid out. So
yeah.
And so now, and a lot of people I worked with when I was an intern are still my coworkers today, which is great. It's a special thing to me that I've known everybody that long there. And,
and how long has that been now?
I started there. It's been like 12 years now since I started interning and all that.
Wow.
To today, yeah. So it's been great. I really haven't, I've, parked in the same spot for 12 years, which is great. So then I did that job, and that clip job was, like an entry-level creative job, So, I mean, mostly kind of grunt work and finding clips and stuff like that. But
I remember I did a brief stint there as well. It's like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day.
Your eyes, just kind of
just glued to screens.
Yeah.
They had like 2 monitors, and then like in addition, you were like, I remember when we were working at Comedy Sports together, and you would be like, oh, I was woken up at 4 a.m. because something happened to Britney Spears, and I had to like make sure that it was
we had it recorded. So I mean, a crazy job, but they would also go like, I wasn't writing in that job, but I would go, oh hey, it'd be funny if maybe we like, we tag this clip with this other thing, and that could get a laugh, and they, we were kind of able to do that, and so I did a little bit of that too, and I think people kind of started, and I was like, sometimes that guy, will do some funny stuff like that, and that's
kind of like early joke pitching.
And in a way, and but at that time too, I made it known that I was interested in learning about writing, and not that I'm like, I'm gonna be a writer here one day, which I think probably would have been very off-putting to everyone there, but
you gotta like let it be known without like saying straight up like, I'm gonna take your job one day.
And so the head writer at the time was a great guy, and I told him, I go, hey, I just started here. I'm really interested in comedy writing, and like, can I, just kind of like this, can I grab a coffee one day? And he's like, absolutely, and answered every question I had. It was really, really great, and so I think that kind of put it in his mind too, like, oh, if we ever have a writer's assistant job open, he could be good for it, and whatever. And, so, about 2 years went by doing the clip job, and there was a writer's assistant job open, and doing that job I got to know a bunch of the writers, and then there were 2 new head writers who I got to know a little bit and work with them, and so I think, they thought I could do that job, and gave me that job, which I was very excited to do. And that was really where I think I learned the most, was because being a writer's assistant, because, just working with all those people every day, and then also seeing the pitches that come in and the pitches that actually get, approved and produced, and just kind of seeing how the sausage was made, and also being in a writer's room every day. And I think it both solidified like me knowing that that's what I wanted to do, but then also, like learning a lot, while I was doing it. So,
of course.
So I love that time. I did that for about 2 years. And then, kind of at the end of the 2 years, I was like, okay, I think I want to try to like push. And I never thought I'd be a writer at the show I was at, just because it's like there's like a great place to work and so little turnover. And I just, I knew. So, I kind of started to, look around and think like, okay, maybe like there's another show I could apply to, and who'd be willing to kind of give someone who'd never written before a shot, maybe. And luckily things just worked out, the timing wise, and the writing job was open there, so
it's so much about that luck and that timing, right?
And just being prepared to, it's like because while all that was going on, I was like writing my own stuff on the side, and writing monologue jokes, like my own, just to kind of learn and grow, because
you were doing stuff at like, because you'd gone from Comedy Sports into doing stuff at IO. Right, and that was like a late night kind of format show, and then you and your friend Adam, you guys had you and your friend Adam Fisher, you guys had one a weeks, and you guys did like one sketch once a week.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah, and
week.
this was early on. So this was when I was a TV watcher. Yeah, and so like, while all those kind of career things are going on the side, I'm just doing like, I just want to have a bunch of experiences and like just make a lot of stuff, and most will be bad, but that's okay because I want to learn. And
But every once in a while, you'll find something. That'll be good.
I'm a big believer. I forget who said this, but I think I read it in Keith Johnstone's Impro book, but it really stuck with me. And it's like as like an artist, whether you're a painter or a writer or a dancer or whatever, it's like you probably will only like, say, 10% of what you make, right, of everything, and then and there's another 50% you're like, that's fine, and then the other stuff is like, I hate it, and you can't stand it.
Right.
But it is a percentage, right? So say the number is 10%, and it's like, if you make 10 things, you'll like one thing, but if you make 100 things, you'll have 10 good things,
Right.
and so it really is just about like just cranking out and really like experiencing as much as you can.
Totally.
And now looking back on all those sketches we did, just on our own, I'm like, ugh, like I'd be mortified if anyone I know currently saw them, you know. But at the time, we're like, cool, like these are great,
Yeah.
What we did, just because Adam, who's my writing partner, for a long time, we were like, okay, we want to give ourselves the goal of we're going to make one thing every week, one sketch every week, and we'll write it and direct it and edit it. We'll put it up online. And so we just started a website. Yeah, it was called One a Weeks. We're like one every week. And there are times where we totally regretted that because, we'd be like, we'd both be sick or we'd be traveling, and we're like, oh man, like it's like Sunday night, like we gotta like, there was one time we hadn't done anything all week. I think he and I went to Vegas together with our girlfriends, and then drove back, and we got home at like 8 o'clock after a weekend in Vegas, and we're like, we have no ideas, we didn't shoot anything, and I forget what the sketch became about that. It was like us sitting on the couch in my apartment, we're both just like hungover and tired, and it was like, it was a 30-second sketch, like basically like, we have to do this or whatever.
Yeah.
But that too was just good timing, or a good experience, because even now in my job, it's like I can't just go like, I don't have any ideas. It's like every morning I gotta get up and write and get it done. It's like so having that deadline, I think, was very helpful to me later on. And then we did a live, because we're like, we want to work in late night, and we didn't really at the time. I mean, we had entry-level jobs doing late night, but we're like, well, let's make our own live late night show. And so we had this show called Up Late, which you are well acquainted with,
Yes,
as a member of our writing staff and band, and
love that show.
it's a really fun show. And then so that was like, let's do our own late night show, and Adam will host it, and we had writers writing jokes live on stage and handing them in, so it was kind of like partially improvised and partially written on the spot. And so that too, we're like, there's no opportunity for us to have real experience yet, because we're still coming up, but like, let's create our own experience and own opportunities. And so that's kind of always how we approached it. But then, suddenly when I was on my first shoot as a writer, and I was so nervous, I was doing the red carpet at the Grammys with Guillermo Yarshlis. And I remember being like, it was the first shoot. I'd been a writer for like 3 weeks. And I'm like, oh, there's like all these like celebrities like coming down, and I got to come up with funny stuff for Guillermo to say. I remember just the week leading up to it, I was just like, I'm gonna get fired. Like I'm gonna mess this up so bad, and I'm gonna get fired and whatever. And but then once I'm there, I go, oh, this is like every other thing I've ever done. It's like, it's much higher profile. I have a real crew here, and we're talking to all like the big music celebrities and stuff like that. But I go, but this is just like shooting a sketch with my idiot friends at UCLA. I go, it's like all the mechanics of it's like the Mr. Miyagi moment where like, oh, when he was having me,
It all
put on the wax, whatever.
This is all preparing me for this job.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I have no experience, but I actually do. Which is great. So
that's good to have that to give that kick in the butt for yourself, to be like, oh my gosh, this is like a game-changing moment. But I remind myself, like, I've done this. I've been doing this. This is what I've been preparing for.
Yeah, you have to be ready when the opportunity comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and so I that's like, well, what's like your number one piece of advice? People ask me, and I go, just start just doing stuff. Like you don't have to wait for someone to give you the opportunity to do something, especially now where you could shoot a feature-length movie on your phone and upload it to YouTube. I mean, like there are there are no barriers anymore to creating something.
Exactly.
And people have been hired at our show because we'll go like, oh wow, that's like a really funny YouTube video. It looks like the kind of thing we do on our show. Like, who is that person? Find them, and we've, we're people who are really funny on Twitter. It's like, person's great, hire them. And used to be that you'd never be hired on a TV show unless you had all of these years of experience. And
Exactly.
but
working your way like up through the corporate mechanism. But
Yeah.
now that there's so many different opportunities and so many different avenues to like get your stuff seen and to have your own following, your own audience, like, and then for shows to be like, oh, this person, they have something because they're getting all this attention and they're funny. Like, let's give them a shot.
And just because someone has an agent doesn't mean they're funny. It's like yeah, like you find people that are like, I mean, there are kids out in the Midwest making hilarious things, and it's like, and you could put that up on on YouTube, tweet it to whoever, and like the hosts of shows and producers of things will see it, and it's like, I mean, it's an exciting time, I think, to be like a funny kid with a camera. I mean,
Totally.
it's totally different now. So
Yeah.
so I just always tell people, like, just do whatever sounds awesome to you, do that, and so it's and then and you do the little version of it first, and then hopefully you learn how to do it, and then you can do the big version of it later.
And you just kind of like snowball from there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying the pizza pie?
This is wonderful.
Good.
It really is.
Good.
I'm sure if I hadn't been talking so much, I'd be probably eating a second slice right now. But
Yeah.
Really good.
Awesome.
Yours is good? I mean, it's good.
I know it's good. Yeah. I
You're
mean,
well acquainted. Yeah.
I'm so well acquainted. I worked here for 3 years.
Yeah.
Not at this location. At the Melrose location.
I think the fact that you worked at a place and made the food for years, but you still enjoy eating it, I think is a testament to the food. 'Cause,
Absolutely.
yeah, so if you work at Disneyland for a long time, you probably never want to go back to Disneyland like for fun. But so that's good.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good product here.
Oh yeah, like I worked at like a bunch of pizza places. I worked at Pizza Hut, and like I worked there for 6 months and hated it. Never wanted to work it. Never want to eat Pizza Hut again.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I stand by places that have good quality.
Yeah.
And this is one of those places where like I feel good about like selling people this product.
Yeah.
And like that's how I view like my comedy writing is trying to just give like the best quality product that I can give instead of giving you speedy delivery
right,
of
yeah.
something that like maybe will taste good like right in the moment, but then later you'd be like, oh, I feel sick. That
Yeah.
doesn't
Right,
make
yeah.
me feel good. So
Yeah.
yeah, and this like it's a special place for me because it was like I worked there for so long while trying to like find my way into the industry
Yeah.
and make my way into being a writer. So it's like it holds a special place in my heart. It's
Yeah.
like it was one of the last places I worked before finally kind of getting my into the world of TV comedy.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of food, why do you think like food is such an important part of the writing process?
I think food's so important because you'll do anything to procrastinate, and food is like if you're playing video games when you're supposed to be working, people think you're lazy. When you're eating, you're like, well, I gotta eat, and I can lunch takes an hour to eat. Lunch, right?
Yeah, of course. You have to eat. You don't have to play video games.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're like,
So-
I'll die if I don't eat a bagel right now, whatever.
Extra cream cheese.
Yeah, I think procrastination is, but I think it's a key part of the creative process because I think you can't just sit and be creative for like 8 hours straight. I think there's a decent amount of like what I call dick around time you kind of need before it's like the dog like circling the bed 3 times before it lays down. And you need a little like, all right, I gotta kind of,
Kind of just like work your way into it. Yeah.
Get in the right, headspace. Although now that I feel like I'm a manager, I have way less time to do that. So I said to my wife recently, I realized that I eat all 3 meals I eat a day. I eat at a desk while I'm like typing. I do like my breakfast while I'm writing like jokes in the morning. My lunch is like at work and I'm revising scripts and stuff like that. And then at night I'm going through more scripts and whatever while I'm eating my dinner too. So I'm trying to change that about my about my. Seems like I don't want to like die like hunched over my MacBook, you know.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that's a big part of it.
That's like pretty
Yeah.
common though too within the world of writing. It's just like you're mostly, it's like a working lunch, working dinner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's usually still in the room.
Yeah.
Unless like people are feeling pretty confident, then it's like, okay, we can at least step outside.
Yeah. Take
and,
some time,
and do
yeah.
that. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's just kind of like keep eating, keep writing.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Let's kind of make this work. You gave some really good advice earlier. What's like the best advice that you've been given?
I'm a very less so now, but I was a very tightly wound individual when I first started out, and I started going to therapy like when I started at the show because I was just so stressed. Like I feel like I kind of got a break and I didn't want to mess it up, and so I was just very like tightly wound and hard on myself and anxious and this whole thing. And, therapy helped a lot with it. Just kind of going like these little things are not the end of the world. And my boss at the time when I was doing that clip job I think he saw that I was just like a
Just a bundle of nerves.
yeah, just like an anxious like cat, just always like just skinny and shaking and but he told me, he's like, he goes, it's really hard to be funny when you're stressed. And that stuck with me. It's like, I can't always not be stressed at work, but I feel like if I am actually sitting down to write a script, I kind of have to approach it from a place of joy and being playful. And it's really hard to go like, have the weight of the world on my shoulders and try to write something that will make someone laugh. It's like, it becomes too scientific at that point, and you're like, okay, well, is there enough setup? We have enough jokes here. What's the twist? Whatever. It's like assembling, like a toy on an assembly line if you're not, careful. But I think I do try when I'm writing something myself. I just try to step back a little bit and go, okay, like imagining myself, I'm an audience member who's come to our show to have a good evening, and so that's the mindset I want to try to approach the comedy from, and not just like hurry,
Yeah, of course, because it's like it's hard to be funny when you're in your head, and you just have to be able to, like when we first started improv, just the basic lessons of like getting out of your head and just enjoying the play, enjoying the fun of comedy.
Yeah. I also too something I learned too writing on a show that happens almost every day. It's like the head writer at the time said this to me, but she goes like you're doing a show every day. Your victories are short-lived, but so are your failures. And and it's like if you have like an awesome sketch theirs that night, and it's like the next morning it's like, all right, well, what do you have today? And you got to wake up and maybe someone will go, oh, that was funny last night. Like, okay, thanks, but everyone's focused on the next thing.
Right.
But same thing, if you just have one that bombs like so bad, and I've had plenty of those too. I used to really beat myself up for weeks, like, ugh, like what am I doing here? I don't deserve to have this job, whatever. But you're like, I don't know, everyone got up again, like, we'll just try to do better today, It's like, I don't know, it's like working at a newspaper or a restaurant or whatever. It's like, it's a volume business, I think Conan said once that it's like, you can't get too hung up on one little thing. It's, you're just, you just try to do the best you can every day and fill up the bucket and then, dump it out and fill it up again the next day,
Yeah. Totally. Anything else you're currently working on? Any side projects outside of Kimmel?
I'm raising 2 children, which is taking up most of my time. Yeah. But yeah, I'm working on some ideas for shows, and I wrote my first sitcom pilot recently that was drew a bunch from my life and my kids and stuff like that, which was a really different form of writing for me. It wasn't based on news and pop culture stuff. It was really fun interactions I've had with in my marriage, with my kids and my parents and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoy that a lot. I'm looking to do more of that. And,
that's great.
That's all I have time for.
That's all you got time for?
Always do something on the side. That's my MO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Danny,
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for sitting down with me.
Thanks for the slice.
Having some pizza. And just talking comedy, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Love you.
You gonna finish that?
You want a slice? You want
Can I take a bite?
Oh yeah, please.
Here, hold on, I'm just gonna tear it off.
Just give it a tear.
Yeah.
Get some of that chicken.
It's wonderful.
I want to thank my friend Danny for stopping by and sharing insights into his comedy journey. You can follow him on Twitter at Danny Ricker. And thank you to Garrett Policastro and his team at Tomato Pie. For more information about their location and all their delicious food, visit tomatopiepizzajoint.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time on Let's Do Lunch.